Hey everybody, welcome back to Plugin Tut, your home for handcrafted WordPress plugin tutorials. As always, I am your host, Matt. As always, if you enjoy videos like this, thumbs up if you like it, subscribe if you love it. I want to do another crash course today talking about the WordPress basics. There's a lot of resources out there on the web that you can find that will go through step by step, detail by detail, every single nook and cranny of WordPress. That is not going to be this video. I am going to fly through a lot of the options and features of WordPress and try to give you the fastest way possible to understanding what WordPress is and what it can do as fast as possible, right? So let's just go right at it. Let's dive right in. Remember, you might need to hit rewind every now and again to understand some of the pieces that I'm talking about. Let's start from the very beginning, logging in to your WordPress website. Sometimes people forget what the login URL is. If your web host hasn't changed the default login page for security reasons, it's always going to be wp-admin will redirect you to the login page, and then you can log in from here. If you forget what your password is, you can click on the lost your password. It'll email it to you, but I'm just going to go ahead and straight log in if I remember my own password, which may have changed. Okay, now that we're in to the dashboard, what is the dashboard all about? What's the most important piece here? Well, nothing. It all depends on how you really leverage WordPress. I don't really spend a lot of time in the dashboard. I guess it's nice to have this sort of at a glance. You can quickly click on your posts and your pages and your comments if that's a huge thing for you. It isn't for me. Quick draft, you can quickly draft up a post if you want. WordPress news, this is just news that comes from a few websites in the WordPress space. And then activity, sort of the things that have happened on your site. I don't really use any of this stuff. It is important to know that throughout every page on your WordPress website, you can access these screen options, which will allow you to sort of put things into view and hide things if you want. I usually just shut off all this stuff. Sometimes I leave just this up here. There are other plugins that will adds some data to your dashboard if you find that useful, like your Google Analytics or Jetpack Stats, that kind of thing. But first, for the most part, the dashboard is just a place to sort of look at everything. I don't really spend a lot of time there, if at all. The update section, this is going to be very important for you because this is where you're going to come and check on all of your updates. First and foremost, to the WordPress core. You want to make sure that you're always running the latest version of WordPress. And then your themes and plugins will also be listed here. When you have an update available, there'll be an indicator that says that there's an update, how many updates there are. And you can come right to the screen and update your system. Very crucial that you're always doing that for security and feature purposes. So definitely use the update screen when you see an update. Posts and pages. What's the difference between posts and pages? Well, first and foremost, WordPress is a great blogging platform. In fact, that is the essence of it, although it's becoming much more of a content management system, which means not just blog posts, but pages and custom pages with custom fields, also known as custom post types in the WordPress world. But let's just focus on posts. Posts are gonna be those blog posts that, a majority of people are using WordPress for. When you click on Add Post, this is your post title. This is what people are going to read on the front end. So let's just do this, a test post by Matt. You name it whatever you want. And then you'd come down into the editor and add your content as you see fit. This is where you'll spend most of your time drafting your blog post. And then from there, you can add in media. I can drop in an image like this, sort of resize it, reposition it, give it a caption, that kind of thing, link it to another piece or another page throughout the site. Right down here, you'll have your word count. And then your general formatting tools. Again, going to move pretty fast, just trying to give you the high-level stuff. You can play around with this stuff. If anybody's ever used a word editor before, this is all very familiar. The one thing that's important is folks who are copying and pasting content from outside of WordPress into WordPress from another page, that kind of thing. Sometimes there might be some extra code that comes in with your copy paste that sort of shifts things around the way that you don't expect them to. You always want to switch on over to the text view and see the any extra HTML that's in there that you might need to adjust. So do pay attention to that. And that's really sort of a quick overview of the editor. You're coming in here, you're making blog posts. You can see up here, when you save a draft, which means it's not a published post, this is the link that you will you'll have to, the public facing side. So when you share it, this is what it'll look like by default. And you can always tweak that by coming in here and editing that. That's some SEO stuff. I cover that in some other videos. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Publish state or settings. You can go from draft to pending review, visibility, public, and private, and then publish immediately, or schedule a post to go out at a particular time. And at any point while you're drafting your post, you can preview it and you can kind of see what it looks like on the front end of your website. Formatting, I'm not going to spend any time on this. It really depends if your theme supports it. But categorizing your blog posts is something that most people want to do. You want to get away from this uncategorized by default. It just kind of looks ugly and unprofessional as you start to blog more. Start creating your own categories and give your blog posts some categories for organizational purposes. And you can always add a new category on the fly. By doing something like this, adding that new category, and then when you do that, it'll automatically check off that post into that category. Same thing with tags. Again, it's just another way to sort of structure your content and organize your content. And if I go test tag, let me add that here. I don't use tags when I'm blogging. It's all about the categories. I don't just really see a need for tags. I'm sure there might be some, SEO purposes that are out there that are a very, granular reason to use tags. I don't use them. But if we take a look at the preview of this, and let's just see where you can see right here. This is the 2017 theme. I've done a bunch of videos on this before. You can check those out, but here are the categories. So if at any point somebody wanted to click on this and see all of the posts within this category, and then they could actually click on these test tags and see the tags within those categories. Totally up to you if you want to use that or not. Featured images, click on featured image, and I will add, let's say, the sugar cookies. I will set the featured image. I will publish that, and then we'll take a preview of it just so you can see what happens. Every theme is going to react differently. Sometimes it'll put a featured image, above the content like we see here in a nice big sort of hero full width look and feel, or other times it'll actually put the featured image within the content or sort of something like you see like this. And other times they don't display it at all. It really depends on which theme you're using, and they only use the featured theme, featured image on like a home page when a blog shows up on a home page or an archive page. But I'd say, 9 times out of 10, the featured images are loading on a blog post, and that's sort of what you want to use as your, featured image, right? If you're writing about sugar cookies, you want to use a sugar cookie image, and then sort of put in images throughout your content. That's what posts are all about. Move pretty fast, maybe spend a little time too much on the category stuff, but you're making blog posts, you're sharing them with the world, and you are, crafting great stories and great content for your business, organization, or your message. You're reaching all of the same stuff that we just chatted about. You can, at any point, you can come in here, see all the categories that you've created, sort of see how many posts have been linked to them, that kind of thing. Change them if you want to give them a description or change the names of them. Same thing with the tags. Fairly straightforward. You can do all that. And of course, clicking on all posts, you can see all of your blog authors who have made blog posts, and your categories tags. Again, same thing. If we go to screen options, we can also sort of clean that stuff up too and see, change the views of what we want to see and whatnot. Let's just skip over media for a second, because I said, what's the biggest difference between posts and pages? Pages, you're not going to have all of those options for, you're going to edit the same way, title, editor, slug, you can do all that, add media, format it all the same way, publishing through visibility, all the same. But the biggest, and featured images, of course, the biggest differences are page attributes and templates. The 2017 theme doesn't have templates loaded on pages, but oftentimes you'll find a theme where you can change the layout of a page by using the page templates, which would appear right here. And unfortunately, 2017 doesn't have that, by default. You can give page parents, and this is just an organizational thing. So you can say that, when you're creating a new page, it's all under the, like checkout parent, which is just a way to organize it visually. Sometimes there are plugins and themes that will pick up on this kind of layout to change the navigation for you automatically. But all in all, it's just a way to organize it visually for yourself. It's also important to note that if you hover over any page or post, you can do a quick edit instead of going into the page or post, and then change some of those settings here, like the status, allow comments, change the title or the slug, the date that it was published, that kind of thing. You can make those changes in a quick edit view, both on the pages and posts. The media section. This is where all of the images go in WordPress when you upload them through a blog post, through a page, that kind of thing. You can come right here and manage all of your media assets and simply either delete them, edit them, crop them, that kind of thing. I don't spend a lot of time doing any of that stuff in the media gallery. It's only if I need to look something up. If I'm looking for a particular image, I'll hop in here and do that. But otherwise, I'm not spending any time in here. I'm never using the edit image here. I do all of this stuff locally on my computer, so I'm really not going to spend time explaining it. It's self-explanatory. If you're looking to resize images and scale them down and crop them, it's you should be familiar. If you're looking to do that, this stuff is all self-explanatory. I don't really mess with it very often. I do all of that stuff locally on my computer because I just optimize them and make them as small as possible, but with as best detail before I upload them to my website. Okay, so that's the media section. You come here, all of your media is here: photos, images, audio, whatever you're in video as well if you're uploading that to your site. Just like when you click on posts and pages, you can click on comments and you can see all of the comments in your WordPress website and manage them here, delete them, approve them, throw them to spam and trash. It's always good to, oftentimes when you have a blog that's been running for quite some time, you will eventually get hit with some spam. I'm not going to cover spam protection in this video, but there are plenty of plugins out there that will help you with that. But you'll accrue some spam over time. It's always handy to come in here and just click on empty spam, and it will just delete all that spam for you. You don't have to go through and click each one. You wouldn't have to go through each one to sort of manage all that stuff. But just like we saw with the quick edit, we can do quick replies, and we can reply to comments right here, but we can also manage them as well. Unapproved, delete spam individually here, or through some kind of bulk action by checking all here and then picking a bulk action from the drop-down menu. Okay, so comments, again, I spend most of my time replying to comments here. I don't actually go to the individual blog post, which would take too much time. So I do spend some time, managing comments through the comment section. Moving right along at the fastest pace possible. Hopefully you're learning. If you are, thumbs up the video and subscribe if you like videos like this. Appearance. This is where you're going to make all the visual changes to your WordPress website. And I should preface that by saying that WordPress is moving in the direction of the front-end customizer. We'll take a look at that really quickly. But if you're looking to add a new theme, by default, your WordPress install will come with this 2017 theme. Again, I've done a bunch of videos on that. But if you're looking to add a new theme, don't get confused with this one. Sometimes people click in here as they look for a new theme. This is really just to search the themes that you already have installed. So if you have a bunch of themes and you can't visually see them, like if you have that many themes on your site where you need to search because you can't find one, you should probably remove some themes. But let's just click on Add New, and I'll give you an example of what you can do here. So you can see when you go to Add New, this is going to bring in what is actually the same listing as wordpress.org/themes. And that's going to pull in that same listing that you see over on the live WordPress website. And you can actually go to from the popular tab to the latest uploaded themes to any favorites that you've maybe marked and checked off as your favorite themes. But if we go over to the right-hand corner, we can search for themes. For instance, this is another one that my company makes called Symphony. You can search for a theme. You can detail, or you can click on details and preview. It'll give you a preview of what this theme will look like. You can kind of read the summary about it. You can see the reviews about it, so on and so forth. And then when you're ready, you just click on install. What's important to know, that same thing with themes and plugins, or I should say themes and plugins react the same way. When you click on install, that it's not active until you actually hit activate. But in the case of a theme, it's installed and you can actually live preview it. And once this loads up, you can live preview it and then take a look at all of the customizer options here. Now, when I mentioned before that WordPress is moving in the direction of the customizer, this is the customizer. You can access it from the same page that we were on, or you can go to the front end of your website and then click on Customize, which I'll take a look at in a little bit. But you could just come in here and change the background of the content area. Which is white to red in this case, and you can make these sort of changes in the customizer so you can visually see what is happening while you're changing. You can change the fonts, you can change the line height, you can change the font sizes. I mean, this is obviously just slapping some options here just so you can see it change. It's important to know that every theme is going to react differently. Every theme is going to have its own customizer options. You're not going to get super control over every single theme unless they provide it for you. And every theme will be different. If you're going from one theme designer to the next, they might not include the same options. So just be wary of that. And, try out themes before you go live. Try them out. Play with them in the customizer, watch some, review videos like the ones I've put up before, and see if it's the right theme for you. Spend some time looking at that stuff. Okay, so that's the themes and that's the customizer. Again, this is the newish direction that WordPress wants us all to head into, and that is using the customizer to design our themes. Before, they used to sort of just be like, you'd come in the back end here and you'd have all these options for a theme and you'd kind of change them all back here, but now it's sort of all moving to the customizer. Widgets. So this is a huge topic. I'm trying not to spend too much time on it in the interest of this video. But every theme will come with its own sidebars set up, and every theme will be different. So just take a look at the 2017 theme, for example. On the left-hand side, this is my content or my blog posts, and on the right-hand side, this is the sidebar, which in the case of this theme, it's simply called the sidebar. So if we see the Find Us widget right here, you can see in this example it shows an address and some hours of operation. If I open up this widget, you can see Find Us, and then there's some HTML tags here, but it's the address and the hours of operation. If I were to put this below our search widget, you notice that, I know it's kind of hard to tell, but if I just see that little loading spinner up there, boom, and that's automatically saving it when you move them around. So if I come to this homepage again and hit refresh, you can see that the search widget is now above that Find It widget, text widget. So that's what it's all about. Widgets are these little movable blocks, and each little movable block has its own little feature set. And on the left-hand side, you can see all of the widgets that come with WordPress by default, like the search widget, like a basic text box, recent posts. So if I drop in the recent posts, let's go ahead and we can title that. So we can say recent, or I could say something a little bit more creative. So from the blog, how many posts do you want to show? Let's just say 5. Let's show the post date. I'll leave that off. Then when I hit save, go back to the home page, and there's our recent posts. Now, it's important to understand that there are plugins that will add new widgets. Sometimes themes add some new widgets in here. So do check with your themes and your plugins that you add, because sometimes they add some nice little widgets that you can use in your sidebars. And then most themes are going to label where these sidebars are in some kind of helpful fashion. So obviously sidebar is the sidebar, and then footer 1 and footer 2. What that means is it's down here in the footer. So let's scroll down to the footer. And you can see here, footer 1 is this column, footer 2 is this column, and you have the ability to sort of play with widgets in those sections. Now again, just as a one more time refresher, that's not even a right sentence, but every theme will have its own dedicated sidebars. If you have found a theme that you absolutely love, but it doesn't have a particular sidebar area that you're looking for, you can customize it, but you're going to need to know some code in order to add a sidebar in. But just so you know, it is possible. You might just want to hire somebody to do that if you're not familiar with it. Another important area that you want to be familiar with is the menu section. Again, a big heaping topic, but I'll try to move fairly quickly here, again, for the interest of time. This is another area where WordPress wants us to sort of move to the front end. And I'll tell you why. It's because people could never sort of guess, for example, like, well, how many items am I adding to my navigation area? How far across does it go? When you're doing it in the back end, you're sort of managing it here and then saving it and then going to the front end, hitting refresh, seeing how it loads. Now you can actually manage this stuff in the live previewer, but let's just take a look at it here, for instance. So let's just click on Manage Locations first. This is where you want to start if you have just installed a WordPress theme and WordPress itself, because this is going to tell you where all of your menus are. And you can see here that there's only one. It's the top menu and the social links menu. The social link menu is a special menu. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know where it loads, but let's just test that out in a moment. So the top menu is that menu that you see right here: Home, About, Blog, Contact, Subscribe. And it's labeled top menu because that's simply what I called it. I can just click on Edit. That'll bring me to, as you can see right here, the top menu. And these are the elements that are in there: Home, About, Blog, Contact, Subscribe. Just one more time so you can see that. Home, About, Blog, Contact, Subscribe. And if I wanted to reposition this, I simply click on it just like the widgets and drag it. So if I put that subscribe button at the first location, hit save, come back, I'll refresh the home page, and now you can see there's the subscribe first in the list. If we expand this, you can expand these elements, and then you can change the label. So you could say subscribe now. And you can see that the original page is still the subscribe page. So that doesn't change, but the label of it does. And I'm saying subscribe now, hit save, one more time, refresh, subscribe now, right? And it's still, when I click on that, going to the subscribe page, as you see right there. If you wanted to nest these items, as to say, make one a parent, one a child, you could do that. So I could simply grab one of the menu items, and if I drag to the right, you can see it snap. See it snap over, snap over, snap over, and snap over. And now you can see the About page is now the parent, and these are sub items. So let's see if 2017 actually has a drop-down menu style, because I've never tested that. And yes, you can see it right there. Boom. See how the little arrow pointing down attributes that there will be a drop-down, and then those are the 3 items that I've created below the About page. It's also important to know, and I know this is a little crazy sometimes, but some themes don't have a drop-down styled. So again, as you plan out which theme you want to pick, please understand that sometimes there isn't a drop-down. And I know that most of them do, but there's a rare occasion that some of them don't. How do you get pages and posts and custom links onto your menu? Well, right over here on the left-hand side, if you go to the Pages tab, which you can see right here, it gives you this most recent view or view all. So if you have, many pages you want to scroll, if you have like hundreds of pages, you can actually click on search and start typing something in. It'll do a little search. You can see it right here. And as you click on that and add that to the menu, it drops it in over here on the right-hand side. If you want to remove that, expand the view, hit remove. Same thing with posts. Custom links, which is a link that you could link to any other URL off of your site if you wanted to, and then categories. So if you wanted to drop in a category, when somebody clicks that, like we talked about before, if you label all of your blog posts images, when somebody clicks on this images link, and I'll just save that and one more time, review it. I don't even know if this is actually linked up. Yeah. So you can see that when I click on images, my URL changes to category/images, and it will now show all the blog posts that have been labeled with the category name images. So pretty self-explanatory. Again, the key takeaways are you can create multiple menus, swap them in and change them at your leisure, and then manage the locations up here. And again, every theme is going to be different, and every theme is going to have a different amount of locations. The header I'm not going to talk about in this because this is specific to this particular theme, but you can actually change the header image. And then the editor, for the most part, many of us will just stay out of this. This is the actual code of our theme. We really don't want to be in here messing around unless you need to, okay? So that's appearances. That's how you change the look and feel and the theme of your WordPress website. Let's move on to plugins. I hope everybody's sort of following along, and I'm sure there'll be tons of questions. Leave them in the comments below. The plugins section, no different than the theme. You can search for the installed plugins. So I can do something like this because I know that's already there. And then you can activate or delete it. Edit is going to bring you to, again, more code or more source code files, and you don't want to be messing around with that. So you really only want to be connected with the activate link or the delete link if you want to remove it. If you want to add new, we go to add new. And just for example, I'll just search for my plugin Note. Again, it's already installed, so it just says activate. But if I was looking for another theme, you'd see installed now, and you want to click on the title, will pull up the actual summary of the theme. It'll give you all of the description, the installation notes, the screenshots, the changelog, the frequently asked questions, and it'll give you a list of sort of all the reviews that have been left for this plugin. You can see my plugin here is active on 9,000 plus installs, five-star reviews. And if you click on the WordPress plugin page, it'll actually just simply bring you over to the plugin page of that particular plugin. And we just, by chance, have a video that you can play. I've written a post, 3,000 word post about selecting the best WordPress plugin. That'll give you an idea if you don't know how to select a WordPress plugin. What's the best plugins? Go ahead and I'll link up that article in the description below, so check that out. Once you install the plugin, you want to go ahead and hit activate, and when you activate it, you'll see that it shows up in blue. And this screen will also show updates. When there's an update available to a plugin, the plugin will be, you'll see a little indicator that says that there is an update, and then you can actually update right from this page. Add new, we just covered that, and the editor, again, this is going to be source code files. You don't want to really mess around with any of that stuff. That's how you install and activate plugins. And let's head on over to the user section. Users are everyone who can access your WordPress website and at what particular role they have access to. So by default, there's the admin, and that person has control over the entire site. They can change all of the stuff. They can come and change the settings. The most basic level is the subscriber level. They don't have access to anything. There is no access at the subscriber level. So why the differences? Well, when people sign up to a site and they just want to simply subscribe and get email alerts from you, more than likely they'll be set up as the subscriber role. But if we go to add new user, we can give somebody a username. It's associated to an email address, first name, last name, website. These are the only two that are required if you want to make a new user on the website. By default, it'll create a complex, hard to guess password, for security purposes. You can change it here if you want, or copy and paste it, or email it to the person if you want. I never really suggest copying and pasting emails and saving it on file. But the meat of this topic is you can come in here and change the role. So if you are running a business site and somebody comes along and they say, hey, I could be a guest blogger for you and I can contribute content to your website, this is where you would come in and create them as an author or an editor. And the real basics of this would be the author or contributor, author, editor. So the contributor can come in, contribute a blog post, and not edit that blog post ever again. So they can just contribute it in and save it, and that's it. If they're an author, they continuously have access to that in all of their blog posts, that they can log back in and access them and edit them at any time, not just after it's published or before it's published, excuse me. And then the editor has access to all of the authors of the website. So an individual author will only have access to her blog posts and hers alone. The editor will have access to everyone's blog posts, including the admin's blog posts. The editor will have access to everybody's blog posts so that they can edit them and delete them, remove them, that kind of thing. Again, lots of different sort of lessons on creating users, managing users, but that'll be for a more detailed video. This is the individual profile page. Every user gets this, and they can change. Again, I'm not going to go through all the options, but the things you want to be concerned with is, will they have a visual editor? Yes, no. What kind of color scheme do they have? That's very basic stuff. But the more important part is, if they want to change their username or password, or give themselves a bio, if the theme displays a bio, if there's a profile picture associated to it, that's where you can come in and manage all that. As the admin, you can manage everyone's. As the individual user, you could come in and change all of that stuff. Tools. Under the tools section, I never use this page at all. I never use the press this feature, or bookmarklet as it's known now. I don't do any of the stuff on the available tools page. The most common place I'll go is the import and export pages. The import page is when I'm moving from, let's say, another WordPress install to a new fresh WordPress install. I'll click on Run the Importer, and I can upload a file here to import the content from another WordPress website. Very straightforward, or from another source like Tumblr, RSS, Library. I mean, I don't, to be honest, I don't use any of this stuff other than the WordPress importer. Same deal for the export. Do you want to export this content, all the posts, all the pages, that kind of thing? There are some plugins out there that will actually give you way better export and import control. But for the most part, these default import exports, cover all the bases for what you need. Heading into the final stretch here, the settings of your WordPress website. Again, there's a lot of stuff here that could use a lot of detail, but let's just cover it from the high level. The site title and tagline. I covered this in many videos, especially the how to start a profitable blog. But you can see right up here, this is your site title and this is your tagline. Matt's Culinary Menu, foods from around the world. Matt's Culinary Menu, foods from around the world. This is what you want to change to indicate your name of your site and a good tagline. Again, these both get scooped up in SEO as well, so it's important to pay attention to that stuff. The WordPress address URL and site URL, you really don't want to play around with this unless you know what you're doing. You can't just, if you've installed your WordPress website through like the SiteGround one-click installer, like I showed in the How to Set Up a Profitable Blog video, you can't just come in here and change your domain and it's just going to work for you. You're going to have to change your hosting account, your DNS, that kind of thing. If you don't know about any of that stuff, I'd steer clear from that. Email address. This is going to be the admin email address, and all of the notifications will go to this email address. So if you start getting email spam, it'll go there. If you have a contact form plugin and you didn't change any of the settings in that contact form plugin, all of the email will go here. Anyone can register. So if you want people to be able to register on your site without you having to approve it, you can check this off, and then anybody can register. I would say leave that off by default unless you really need it, because you'll get a lot of subscribers, a lot of spam subscribers, and you don't want anything like that. Everything else is pretty much self-explanatory. If you want to change the site language, you can do that down here as well. Writing. Writing section, I don't really mess with any of this stuff by default. I leave everything the way it is. I don't use this post via email, so there's not much for me to change in there. Reading. This is where you come into your website if you're not using, so again, for example, if we're using the 2017 theme, right now it's set up as a blog format, which means it's just showing all of the blog posts on the homepage. But if I wanted a static front page with a separate page that somebody clicks on to actually load those blog posts, this is where you do it. You go to you go to settings and then reading, and then check off static page. You select whatever page you want for the homepage, and then whatever page you want to show the blog posts on, and then how many of those blog posts are going to be displayed by default, and then how many are actually sent to an RSS reader if somebody subscribes to your site, that kind of thing. And then in the feed, we can go from full text to summary. This is super important. If you're building a website that you have up on a placeholder domain, again, if you're like following along with my How to Build a Profitable Blog video, and you register a brand new domain and you're up there, playing around with it and customizing it, before you launch the site, if you're just messing around putting placeholder content, you should discourage the search engines from indexing the site, because if you have a bunch of test content up there, you don't want Google to index all that stuff. At the same time, so that's important while you're developing. What's doubly important is when you launch and you're ready to go, make sure you uncheck that so that Google and other search engines can index your website and get all that good content. So again, if you're developing it and you're putting a bunch of test stuff, at the time, discourage those search engines. But when you're ready to launch, uncheck that to make sure that your site gets indexed. Let's take a look at the static page real quick. Did I hit save? Let's just save that one more time. Static page, yes. So let's go ahead and refresh. Now, every theme is going to act different when you set a static page for the homepage. Sometimes it'll just show that page. Other times it'll have a custom page like you have in the 2017 theme, which has this sort of nice portfolio parallaxy kind of layout. Again, I've created a whole video tutorial on 2017, so check that out if you're interested. But again, the idea is that will show your static front page if you want more of like a business portfolio site. But if you're just looking for a blog site, your latest post will do just fine. Let me hit save changes, refresh the home page. And now as we scroll down, you can see just our blog posts are listed. Okay, fun stuff. That's settings and reading. Discussion. By default, I leave everything sort of default when I install a new site. This is going to be a whole bunch of stuff around comments. Everything is pretty self-explanatory. If you go in here, you can change all of these settings. Again, I don't do anything by default in this section. Same thing with media. You can set up different defaults for your thumbnail size, medium size, and large size. I let the theme dictate this stuff. I don't really override any of this stuff. So again, I'm leaving everything by default here. Permalinks. This is a big one. As you can see here, by default, it's set up to display the day and name. So basically, you'll see your URL, and then it'll give you the year, month, day, and then the post title name. You know, there's a whole bunch of SEO resources out there that you can look to. But what I like to do is, the one thing I do change is I switch the post to simply display the post name, or I can come in here, you know, set up a custom structure if I wanted to. But by default, I just switch it so that it just displays the post name. I don't really need the date. I don't need it taking up creating this big long URL. You know, I would rather have a nice short URL or just the keywords in here. It's cleaner. It's easier for my readers to read and share. Plus, I just feel like Google doesn't index any of this stuff, and I'm just eating up space, really. And I'm sure there's much more of a technical term around that. But for SEO purposes, I just make it nice and clean, you know, to show the URL. And that's it. This last one here is Note. That's from my plugin that I installed. This is just an options page. You will find, so I guess that's one good sort of closing statement here. As you install more plugins and certain themes, more admin options will show up on the left-hand side. So actually, let me just take a look at that. If I install, let's say, Ninja Forms, which is a contact form plugin, now you'll see on the left-hand side, here are all of my options for Ninja Forms, all of the forms that I can create, that kind of thing. So as you add more plugins and activate them in your site, you will get more options showing up. And, you know, the more plugins you have, typically the more options on the left-hand side you'll have. So it could be overwhelming at first, but you know, taking it one step at a time will certainly help. And reading the documentation for each plugin and theme that you install will definitely help. That is my overview of WordPress for beginners. I hope I didn't move too fast. I hope I provided some value to people. I'm sure you'll have questions.